receiving yards in the first quarter before?
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah, definitely not.
What's that like when you have so much success so early in the game?
Just blessed, to be in those opportunities. The coaches trust me that much, so, when the ball comes my way, I just got to capitalize.
You played cornerback in high school. I actually talked to your high school coach last night. He says hi, and he said that you were on the field like all the time. So how do you feel like your defensive background has kind of helped you become a more physical receiver?
Yeah, definitely, learning the techniques of a receiver at DB definitely, help. So every time, I'm on the field, I just try to take those little techniques, use it to my advantage so, I can have that one up on my opponent.
How much of it is instinct versus techniques that you've actually worked on? Because it looks very natural.
Yeah, definitely a lot of I would say, God-given talent. But, a lot of the hard work that I put in, I just, fall back on my training, and, I feel like that's, most natural during the game.
What have you seen from Purdue on film?
They're a great team, great program. We're on got a away game, so we're going to travel and put our best foot forward, and we're ready for that.
What does having two effective tight ends like Lake and Walker do for you in the receiver group?
Yeah, it definitely helps a lot, for sure. Knowing that those guys, can definitely get the ball whenever they want. They're going to be open. So I feel like that just, helps, the running game and the receiver game.
On your first touchdown, Walker kind of took off and was running alongside you. Did you know he could run that fast?
Nah, for sure. Yeah, I'll be seeing it in practice, That's what we work on. Everybody flies to the ball, It don't matter, no matter where it's at. So I feel like that's just playing for one another.
Do you celebrate touchdowns?
Yeah, celebrate with my team, because I can't score without them. So, got to celebrate with my team.
I know you got into some trouble in high school for celebrating touchdowns. So how do you think you've kind of matured from things like that have happened?
Yeah, definitely learned my lesson. Those things come about, take it on the chin, you'll learn from it and don't do it again.
What's the team's mindset heading into the first road game?
Just play our game. Don't worry about the opponent. What we got to do, do our job, and we'll be just fine.
You committed to USC pretty early, and you've been here the whole time. So what's kept you here?
This is home. It's in my backyard. Got my family here. Such a great program. I wouldn't want to be, nowhere else. So, every time I step onto this campus, I just got to do my best, leave such a great legacy behind.
What does the staff try to tell you about how important sleep is? Jane was talking about how that's been a big emphasis, getting 8 hours. What's that been like, learning all about that?
Yeah, they definitely preached on, sleep is definitely one of the most important recoveries, so we just try to take advantage of that, any advantage we can do, with recovery, we're doing that. So like the coaches in the program, just put in their all into us, wants the best for us. So.
How do you feel it's like improved your game, just with all that kind of stuff, just sleep and recovery?
Yeah, definitely. Y'all can see it. The team's doing great. We feel good. So we're just gonna keep taking advantage of the opportunities.
Jaden Richardson has some big blocks on Saturday. Why do you guys take so much pride in the blocking aspect of your game?
If you don't block, you don't get the ball, man. You got to block before, you got to play for your teammates. It's not just, just you out there. You got a bunch of your other teammates that you on the field with, so, you just got to play for them.
When you've watched your kick and punt returns on film, what are some things that have stood out?
We just got to, do all our job. If we do all our job, then we'll be successful.
What are you thinking about when you're like breaking a tackle or shaking a guy off? Like, what's your motivation to get to the end zone?
Just score, man. I'm not gonna let anybody, get in my way, feeding my family. So, just gotta do what I gotta do.
Thanks, Makai.